Maybe my best introduction is that I'm unemployed. I left my 24-year corporate career. I know a report of United Nations said about 140 years for economic
Right.
parity for women.
That figure can actually go down. I don't think so. We need 140 years.
Absolutely.
It could be within 100 years as well to actually reach that to cover up that gender parity and everything. What is one of the underrated trend in fintech or finance?
My 2 cents, I think what happens in the world of fintech is that there's always like an era. I think a lot of them are coming up. Yeah, it took me like 6 years to write this book. My daughter wrote it one in 5 days and she wants me to publish. Some women just want to be a mom. This achievement, being a mother, I think it's the biggest blessing. How can you be a great leader if you have such a weak team? That was your job. But I think the combination of AI and open banking is super powerful. And I think it's still largely underestimated.
Hi everyone, welcome to another show of HerTalks. This time we are bringing season 2 for you. Season 1 was amazing and we have shown and you all have seen the stories of courage, inspirations and whatnot. So we are bringing another episode with another inspiration story of someone which you all know. She is the celebrity in the corporate world and I would not like to take the name. You can see on your own. So let's all welcome Amnah Ajmal. Hi Amnah, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the kind introduction.
You're welcome. And would you like to please introduce yourself? We want to know who Amnah is.
Sure. So currently, maybe my best introduction is that I'm unemployed. I left my 24-year corporate career to write a book, which I've almost finished. It's with my publisher, and to build a company. So I'm going to be a fintech founder.
That's amazing.
Thank
and
you.
exciting as well. And all the very best.
Thank you so much.
So you have been named among the top women in fintech globally, I think twice, right? So what does that recognition means to you personally and professionally?
I think when you're having bad days, it's good to have that at the back of your head that you're being recognized for those efforts. Other than that, I think as a women leader in technology, financial services, payments, I feel there's a certain accountability that I hold myself to, and that is to uplift other women and make sure that it becomes a level playing field for other women. So I think the recognition just helps you on your really bad days when you think that, oh, the world is never going to change. And, there's still so many boys clubs out there. It's like, no, you're moving in the right direction. And it also helps you kind of, just be grounded in your mission.
So what's the one leadership principle you actually live by and which really help you to navigate the high stake corporate decisions?
Gosh, one is hard to name, but if I have to choose between courage and compassion, probably I'll go for courage. I think when you're leading teams, your teams need a clarity of vision, decision making for you. I think the most frustrating aspect of working in a corporate, especially for high achievers, could be that their boss is not giving them decision. Their boss is not helping them with the showstoppers that come in their way, because that's not easy to navigate big corporates. So I think having the courage to actually stand by your people, to do the right thing, no matter how hard it is, to build the business for long term and not just for this year, because your financial bonus is tied to it. I think that requires you to pick up battles and do things that may not be very popular. So I think courage is very important for leadership. So I would say courage.
Okay. So you have worked for various reasons. You have worked for Middle East and Europe, Asia as well. So what is the one difference you will find in the payments and how the reasons are actually evolving through that?
So, Asia, US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, they're all very different. And having lived and worked there, I would say one of the things is that within those regions, the markets are very different. At times, you can group them, but there are many times you can't. Like people try to group Africa, but Nigeria is so different than Kenya. Kenya is a market which was opened from a regulatory perspective for the telco players to enter. So mobile money is really huge and successful, but Nigeria isn't because the regulators were slow on giving licenses to the telcos for mobile money. So I think within a region itself, there are many differences, especially when it comes to bigger markets. But I would say that the pace of innovation and the spirit of getting things done is faster in the Middle East and Africa. I think Europe fintech ecosystem is much more mature. You see a lot more funding available. You see a lot more unicorns coming out of it, and you see that actually there may not be a lot of differentiation between different companies, but you see still a lot of them coming up. I think in our region over here, it's still a little bit slow. I would say in Asia, you really have to like take China and India kind of out of Asia and then think of the other
Right.
markets. They themselves are like operate like a region and are super successful. But it's also how I would say not regions, but different markets have kind of skipped a whole set of payment products that other markets did not. Like in Africa, credit cards just did not happen. They just jumped to mobile money, right? In Asia, there are many markets where also the same thing happened. The digital financial inclusion did not come through cards. So I think those would be some of the differences. I mean, US has massive scale. So I think while the pace of innovation is really fast, at the same time, the price of doing an experiment or drive a change is hard. So I think if you look at like the fact itself, it's one of the last markets in the world to move to chip and pin and to move to contactless, right? I did that in Poland when I was living there in 2008, right? So I think because of the scale, it's harder to move the financial institutions and to have, even if you experiment, right? The cost of your mistake can be significantly high because of the scale that you have. So I would say it's slower on that front.
Okay, so let's talk more about fintech. What is one of the underrated trend in fintech or finance you are thinking that it's about to explode?
My 2 cents, I think what happens in the world of fintech is that there's kind of there's always like an era. There was an era of like BNPL, then there was an era of crypto. Now is an era of AI. No, there was also a metaverse era. Even Facebook went ahead and changed their name to Meta. So I think there's like there is kind of a word or a new tech that comes in and kind of overtakes the world
Right.
in the fintech. Some last, some don't last. But I think the combination of AI and open banking is super powerful. And I think it's still largely underestimated how much that space can evolve and what AI can really bring to open banking. So I think AI plus open banking, plus if you add to it the SME microlending, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity and it can be huge if done properly.
That's wonderful, actually, and exciting as well because now AI is into everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think so any sector is actually untouched by AI.
Yeah,
And now
absolutely.
fintech, I think it's going to be very promising.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have worked with governments, tech giants, as well as financial institutes. What's the key to building the digital trust with customers?
I think a lot of it has to do with your brand, right?
Right.
What the brand promises, what the brand delivers, its consistency. And I think trust once broken is very, very hard to rebuild. So I think it's that investment that you do in your business to future proof your business, you know. And also in terms of customer data, right? These days, and going back to open banking trend, which I very passionately believe in, that when customers are really trusting you with their data, right, that's a huge responsibility. So I would say it's really the consistency. It's your brand promise. And then how are you delivering on it? Like in this space of payments, it's like you may think if your SLA is like, oh, I only had like 0.02% of decline. But for a consumer, that's a horrible experience.
Absolutely.
You know, they may never ever use that product again. For a merchant, also it's a terrible experience because they lost a sale. So I think downtimes and platforms and stability and all of that is like absolutely critical because consumers in today's world are impatient. You know, you look at the next generation. I look at my children. Oh my God! I mean, it's a different level of impatience altogether. So speed, consistency, and delivering on your brand promise is absolutely critical to build that digital trust.
Okay, that's wonderful. I think we have talked a lot about fintech and all. Let's try to know more about you as a person.
Sure.
Tell us more about your life. I know you are a mom, and we would like to know more about it.
Well, if I start talking about my kids, the show will go on.
It's
I
an
think
end.
that's my biggest achievement. When you were talking in the first question, that what does that recognition mean to you? Like the awards of being the fintech leader and all of that. I think that's really meaningless in front of this achievement. Being a mother, I think it's the biggest blessing that you can have in your life. And I know everyone says that their kids are beautiful, but mine really are. And I just love them, adore them. And I think whatever I do, in terms of whether it's leadership or in terms of even quitting my job and trying to become an entrepreneur, I think it's got a lot to do with me being a mother, because I do want my daughter to grow up and see that, she can create her own path, she can carve her own path. She's the one who's the writer of her story. Her story cannot be written by anyone else. She determines her own worth and value, and there's no one else that can define it. There can be nobody that can bring her down. And I want just little girls, I don't know how many I would be able to impact and touch their lives, just to have that belief in themselves. I think that's just so important for me. Even my boys to grow up to be men who would be advocates of women, and making sure that they would play a role, because I think I hope, but I don't think that's the case. I do think that it will take us years and years, 100 years, or I know a report of United Nations said about 140 years for economic
Right.
parity for women on a gender side. But I would say that it's, I hope it's less than that. But I think for that, we need both men and women of the next generation to think differently, act differently, and really contribute in their everyday lives, because it's not just your professional life, it's your personal life a lot. Like, I'm teaching my 5-year-old boys that, you have to open the door for your sister, you have to say, like, after you to her, they see my husband doing the dishes, doing the laundry, so they know that, if mommy has to go to work,
Right.
that's something that daddy has to do, right? So I think that for me is extremely, extremely important. So, and that really is my biggest achievement. I hope I'm able to do it right. But yeah, they are the guiding force in my life.
No, I think you have rightly mentioned. So whatever figures United Nations is actually referring to, but if when both men and women work together as an allies, that figure can actually go down. I don't think so. We need 140 years.
Absolutely.
It could be within 100 years as well to actually reach that to cover up that gender parity and everything.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing that to the episode. And but I want to understand like how motherhood is actually changing your leadership skills, especially the risk taking parameters.
So I think so. I will tell you a story. When I was a single person, I used to send emails like around 1 a.m. or so, and then I would also send emails at 5:30. And I remember once I was taking feedback from one of my direct reports that, oh, how could I be a better leader? And he's like, first of all, for God's sake, get a life. I mean, how can you send me an email at 1 a.m. and then also do a follow-up at like 7 or whatever when our office opens 8? And I was like so shocked. I was like, I have such great amount of compassion and empathy, and this is how I come across. But so I think balance was really missing in my life. That boundary where you have the time to disconnect. I was always, always on, right? And the bedtime for kids, which I'm very, very particular about, and it's like 6:30 to 8 o'clock, when I'm completely disconnected. I do not have my phone with me. I think that boundary that I drew is like life changing, not only from myself, because I believe if I'm a working mom, that's a decision I've made. Then, like I have to be present for their bedtime, and I have to be there for their school drop-offs. My weekend is actually then their time, because it's already very little. I mean, there was a research that 75% of the time that you ever spend with your kids would be over by the time they're 12.
Right.
So it's 18 summers you have with your kid. That's not a lot if you think about it, right? So I tell people a lot about this, and I talk to a lot of women about it, to draw that boundary even if you do not have children, even if you're not married. It's just important for you. I think it's also important to have your sense of achievement not entirely associated with the company that you work for and in its entirety from your work. It's important to have that sense of achievement coming from different sources so that you can be a little bit more balanced. It could be, you wanted to always learn to cook, you always wanted to learn Spanish or something like that, right? So I think that balance was incredibly missing in my life. And being a mother really changed me from that perspective. I also think you can't say that, oh, if there were people in my team who had kids, of course, I knew that they have to leave early to put their kids to bed and all. There was always a level of empathy that I had. But I think I could never understand that, oh, why certain women are not actively growing in their career. I'll tell you a story. I was in Poland and I wanted to have my direct report as my successor. And I was talking to her. Those days were BlackBerry days. There was no iPhone. And I was talking to her. I was like, listen, you're going to be so great at my job, you should put your hand for it. I'm going to put you up in succession planning. And she was like, Amnah, I don't ever want your job. And I was like, wow, why? You would be so good at it. And she was like, no, you are on your BlackBerry all the time. And I know that there's a headquarter, I'm working in an American company. You have to be on calls after you put your kids to bed. She was talking about herself. And she's like, I can't do that. And I want to do that. I want to disconnect once I put my kids to bed. I want to be there for them, And I did not understand it. Why would she make such a choice? So I think after becoming a mother, you understand those choices much better. You do.
Okay, but I have another question which is very much similar to this, which you have just mentioned. So there are females, and I would say that a lot of females, those who are still struggling or they are in dilemma, what they should choose, whether they should go after their ambition or whether they should choose the motherhood. What would you like to say to them?
See, if you are choosing without any fear and if you are choosing completely free from, which I don't think so women ever are, but if that's the case, really, free from any pressure of the society or of your partner, then it's great. It's a choice you made, right? I have a lot of respect for, and I never use this word working women and not working women. Come on. I think women who are working in the house and are raising kids, I mean, oh gosh, God bless them, because I can't do that. I think the longer I'm spending time with my kids, I feel the more I scream towards the end of it. So I think you need a lot of patience. In fact, Monday when I come to work, I'm so happy, I'm relaxed. Because Saturday and Sunday I was with kids. For me, it's like relaxing to sit at one place, not have eyes at my back, not run here, there, right? So I think if you're making that choice to be there for your kids without any pressure, fear, or without having to because some women just want to be a mom. That's what they always wanted to be. Great, But if you're saying that I am very ambitious, I believe I can't reach somewhere, but oh gosh, I've started a family, I think I have to choose, and it's a tough choice I'll have to make. I would say don't make that choice. Go for both. There's certain things that you do need, and I tell women that there was a time when the biotech was not that advanced, that there was a real thing about biological clock ticking, and it was almost like in your 20s, you need to start a family. Now with the choices you could freeze your eggs, use those possibilities if you can afford them. And having kids in your 20s versus in your mid-30s is a completely different ballgame. Because, for example, when I had kids, it was very easy for me because it was not planned. I met my now husband late. And I always believe you have to get married or have a long-term partnership when you're really in love. So the choice is very different, because when you have your kids, when you already have achieved a senior leadership position, the infrastructure at your workplace is very different. You can delegate to your team. You're no longer an individual contributor.
Right.
You probably would have an assistant who's supporting you with the calendar and other stuff. So you can actually figure out ways to be present for your kids. For example, if I had to pick up my kid because the school called and he or she is not doing well, I would make sure I'm there to pick up and not the help at my home. So if I go to pick them up, I would just ask my assistant, I need to be out for 1 hour. Could you please move this meeting and swap this one so that I can be present? Those are the kind of things that you can do early on in your career, right? Because you're highly likely an individual contributor. So I think freezing your eggs gives you a lot of flexibility. You free yourself from that kind of pressure that, oh my God, if I don't have kids right now, probably I'm never going to have it. Second thing I would say is a lot about confidence. So surrounding yourself, and I talk to so many amazing, incredible women who, like, I look at them and I'm like, wow, you have such great credentials, such great executive presence, but their confidence in themselves is so low. And I would be like, if you walk in an interview, I won't give you the job in the first minute. They're like, why? I'm like, because your belief in yourself that you deserve that job and you need to have it because you are the excellent candidate for that is extremely low. So I think men somehow, and there's a lot of research to back that, have a lot of confidence. So I would say second thing would be surround yourself with people who can uplift you, who can boost your confidence, who can bring out the best in you, right? Third thing I would say, everyone is good at something, and I believe everyone has a story. I always used to write, but when I was writing and I used to share with a friend of mine, and she'd be like, why don't you post it on LinkedIn? I'm like, but who would be interested in it? And she's like, no, you have a lot to share. And I'm like, no, I really don't think so. So I think building your brand, if you have a purpose and a calling, or if you feel that you have a mission, or you feel something, a topic about which you're really passionate about, right? There's so many social media platforms over there. Put yourself out there, talk about it, connect with people. So I would say those three things. And then the last thing, probably I should have said it first, who you marry.
Right.
It's the most important decision in your life. You can change companies, jobs, work, whatever. I think the support system that you have at your home, I mean, we live in the UAE, so we are really privileged, the kind of infrastructure the country has to offer, the healthcare. I mean, not in many countries you can deliver a muffin at your house, right? So the medicines through pharmacy on WhatsApp, it's like an incredible infrastructure provided to women to support. But at the same time, you do need that support from your partner. So who you marry is absolutely, absolutely critical. I mean, my husband and I would have our calendars of traveling in each other's outlook, right? So I'd be like, I'm traveling. He's like, okay, fine. Then I have to change by a day to make sure that we are not traveling at the same time for our kids. But I think this is absolutely critical. And I would say that the kind of support that I have to even, okay, at times also it's bad because you're in the same industry, but the kind of support I have is just incredible, And you need to have that. You cannot come home from work and have that pressure to be the perfect wife and the perfect mom. You can't do all of that. I think you have to just average out in a year. And this concept also, I believe women need to understand. I mean, I beat myself a lot on a lot of days. That, oh my God, I could have done this better. I could have yelled less at my kids, And I could have done this better at work. But I think I slowly got used to the concept that, there are good days and bad days at work, and there are good days and bad days at home, You have to average it out for it to be a good year, And that your partner's support matters a lot. There are days you would be a good wife. There are days you won't be a good wife, There are days you'll be a good mom. There are days you won't be a good mom. The ability to actually have the decision-making process in your mind that, yes, that's what I'm doing. There are days you prioritize your work. There are days you prioritize your kids, right? You need to be comfortable in that space.
No, I think it reminds me one of your posts which you posted on LinkedIn. I don't think that nobody reads. We all read your post actually. So I think that was really very, very apt when a female, I think Dubai is a place where people has to go out, network, and when especially you are an entrepreneur, then that different kind of a pressure is there on you that you have to carve your space in the system. Then you have to go for the networking, and most of the networking things happen after 5, after 6, and that is the time when you have to put your bets to you have to read a story, or maybe you have to spend time with them, because then again they will go back to school in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there comes a very important role of your spouse as well. If you are going out for a meeting, let me manage your kids at that time. And I think that kind of a partnership is really very important. And I tell this thing to everyone, to the females especially, choose your partner wisely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very important thing. It's a
Yeah.
game changer for you,
It
or maybe
is.
make or break you.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Even in the confidence, like you can have great friends, you can have a network of colleagues at work to boost your confidence and all. But at the end of the day, you're living with a person. How they boost your confidence and how they're there for you, it's like extremely important. That makes a
That's
whole lot of a difference.
that's true. We got to know that you are writing a book as well.
Yes.
So can we get a little sneak peek about it, like what exactly it is, and slightly, little bit?
Sure, I'm a pretty dumb writer because last 5 years I had been writing a book, and as long as I was working in 5 years, I wrote 20,000 words, and then I leave Mastercard, and I thought it would take me 3 months, given that in 5 years I had written 20K words. I finished my book in a week. Of course, there's a lot of feedback. I'm working with the firm. We did beta testing, and there's some feedback, so I have to edit it and all. I'm in that phase right now. So having lived in 11 countries, different continents, multinationals, seeing different kinds of leaders, and linking it back to also my personal journey and the values that my parents gave to me. I just think it was worth sharing it, and how I found my purpose and calling, which was pretty late in my career. I came into the financial services industry by an accident. I also believe my success is an accident. It's not an outcome of a process that a corporate followed, or there's a framework for it, right? So my book aims at telling my personal and professional story, but with an aim so that the CEOs of the corporates first can understand and figure out a path to really make a level playing field in the tech and the financial services space. Figure out actually the passive aggressive leaders, both men and women, who actually are not genuinely interested in the well-being of people and just in there for themselves. What would they do actually, and what can they do? What kind of systems, whether they're performance, calibration, or recruitment, really need to be demolished, because the leadership playbook was written like 100 years back and we still follow the same book. And it's time that it has to change. And the second audience of my book is really women, for them to understand that there would be a lot of hardships in your journey. It's not going to be easy, but have the perseverance and the courage to go through it, and you can do it. It's just possible. Make sure that you are the author of your story, and you would write your own story. So yeah, it was very important for me. It's extremely emotional for me. It's a very passionate thing for me to have this book out there. It took me like 6 years to write this book, and my daughter wrote it in 5 days, and she wants me to publish it on Amazon. So yeah, it's something that I would feel really proud that I've done it.
Okay, and we all are waiting for that book.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Amna, what is your biggest failure, which actually pushed you to become a woman who you are today?
Gosh, my life started from failure. So first of all, my parents wanted me to study medicine. So I had terrible grades in biology. So I was waiting to get into a medical school, and I think I was on the waiting list of probably the worst school in the country, and I didn't even get there. There were 3 people who had to drop off from this particular college for me to get in. So I think it was like, oh yeah, you failed, you cannot even get good grades to learn medicine, so maybe you should just get married now. And then I picked up the battle, and I tried to study and did my undergraduate. And then after that, I couldn't land up a job because I wanted to work for FMCGs. I thought, Nestle, P&G, Unilever are the kind of firms, if I work with them, I'm talking about that time, 24 years back, you could have an international career. I could leave the country. I would have my financial freedom, and, I would, in a way, break away from the societal norms that I was exposed to. But then all 3 firms also rejected me. So my friend who really wanted to be a banker asked me to, if I could go and attend a Citibank interview, and then just a dummy interview, and then come out of the interview and tell him all the questions that they asked. So I literally did the interview for him, my whole purpose of the interview was to memorize the question that they're
Right.
asking me as opposed to answering it. But I guess that's the thing, because I had no intention of getting the job. I was giving like very honest answers, like I was not prepared for anything. And then I got the job, and it was an international job. So I think your life can be built on a lot of failures, and people can label you that. Um, and I always thought that, oh, I can never have a financial services career. I mean, I I thought, at least, I was only good at understanding brand and marketing, and I won't be good at all of this. But life has its own plans,
Right.
and here I am, 24 years in the same industry. So I think the important thing, and it's very hard to understand at that point in time, is, but now I believe in it very firmly, that in hindsight, all dots will connect. They will.
That's deep. And I think it's nice. I think we all have our own callings. You never know, something somewhere will click. And
Yeah, absolutely.
so, what was the biggest career advice which you have received so far? And you would also like to give something similar to the females, those who are still struggling to set their foot in the career.
So I would say, when you're trying to make a decision, and I see it a lot, and it makes me sound so old, the new generation, that, oh my God, sometimes they would come to me with an analysis of like pros and cons of if they do this versus this, and it's written and all of that. And I had never ever done that. But I would say that one of my bosses, when I was not interviewing for a big job, and he wanted me to interview for that job. And I'm like, no, no one is going to select me. That's absolutely not possible. I have 4 years of experience. The job description says 20 years of experience required. That I manage 4 people. This job requires you to like have intensive people management experience. I don't have that. So I'm never ever going to get that. And he was like, you apply for it. So what? You don't get it. And I'm like, no, but even if I get it, I'm going to be fired, because, in this country, everybody speaks a different language. They look different. I would be the only expat. He's like, so what if you get fired? I'll rehire you again. Someone will hire you, right? I think that really stuck with me. It's like maybe 19 years back or so, because it's like, if you just think, like, what is it I have to lose here?
Right.
You would think very differently. So I would say that to women. Just think, what do you have to lose? If you go and ask a person that I need this job, and it requires A, B, C, D. I'm good at A, B, C, and I don't have D, but I'm going to work towards developing D. And I believe I'm the best suited person for this job. If you try to negotiate your salary because you believe you deserve that, what's the worst case? You would be where you are.
Right.
You won't get the increase. You won't get the job, right? But not doing that, not making an effort, then it's a different story. You have a lot to lose. So just think about it. What do I have to lose? Like, so what?
Yeah, right. I think this is very common norm with the females. We generally put ourselves in a situation where we think we are not enough, maybe, or maybe
Yeah.
overthinking or something like that, where we actually start judging our own self. What I feel is that if we'll work on these things, there might be many entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
There might be top leaders, female top leaders in the world. If we all females start working on ourselves, especially for these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if there will be an opportunity, suppose God will give an opportunity to just redesign the entire corporate world for females from scratch, what would be your non-negotiables?
I think first it really would be to have accountability for both women and men leaders, right? So the accountability in leadership needs to be there, and I don't believe it's there. Many times people would just deliver like good financial results at the cost of causing a massive burnout of teams, but yet you're adding shareholder value that's considered to be great. Many times culture is just a buzzword. Yeah, we are a very people company. We value the work that you do. We take care of you. We are like a family here. But then you could do like brutal layoffs without having any consideration of how it could have been done differently. because I do get the shareholder value. I understand that corporates have to deliver on that. So I would say the accountability aspect of leadership. I mean, I've been sitting in so many talent calibrations where it would be like, oh yeah, I mean, Joe is great, but if I would say no, but like he has been abrasive, he has this massive ego, he's not approachable. Oh yeah, he's on a journey. No, and then I would see many leaders who are rated so great, but everybody in their team is partially mad or not good, whatever, right? How's it possible? How can you be a great leader if you have such a weak team? That was your job. That's what you were supposed to do, right? So I think the concept of accountability for me in the corporate world really needs to go significantly up. It's not who you're socializing with, and I get that we're human beings, that element would always come in, but I think it's way too much right now in the corporate world, and the accountability needs to take over. The second thing I would say is that if you really have to create a path for women, protect and make sure you stand up for the change leaders in your organization. Don't leave them alone.
Right.
Don't leave them alone in their battles, because if someone is an authentic change leader and they're driving that change for you, but you leave them to systems that are not designed for them to be successful, you leave them to the majority of your leaders who do not want the change to come, then this person would never be successful. So I would say accountability. I would say identifying first of all, and then standing behind your change leaders. That would be extremely important. Third thing would be, everybody talks about pipeline. Oh, we didn't have a great pipeline for women. That's why we're in this situation. Well, you create the pipeline, and policies can't create that. It needs to come from your heart. I've seen so many people who would bypass the policy, like, oh, you need to have an equal representation of gender in the slate. So I'll go and tap on a woman. I would encourage her to apply for the job. But then I would say, oh, you know what? You don't have consultancy experience. Guess what? I knew you don't have
Right.
consultancy experience. You're an internal person. You sit next to me. I know that. But you just did that. So on the slate, at least there was one woman. And then you gave the job to the man that you always wanted to give the job
Right.
to, right? That it has to come from your heart. But for that, you have to do a massive cleanup in your organization. I would make sure that corporates are having actually those processes in place to identify the leaders that are toxic, and they're moved out of the organization pretty fast. Speed is of essence over there.
No, I think you have mentioned very rightly. Most of the time, it happened that people just fill the positions with the females just to tick the checkbox or something like that. That we have a female, yes, we are supporting that. But when you're onboarding a female, a lot of thing comes with it, and you have to be accountable for that as well. It should be
Absolutely.
mutual.
Yeah.
Which is very important. But thank you so much, Amna. And this is the last question for this episode. And I want to know, like, is there any message, any advice you would like to give to the females, those who really want to come forward and work in a corporate career, and they look up to you as a leader, and they want to learn from the other female leader as well?
Well, I would say have faith in your capabilities. Have the belief that you will be there wherever you want to be. It's very important. If you don't believe in yourself, others will not. So it has to come from you, Have that confidence, have that faith, have that belief.
Thank you so much, and lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing the advices and a little piece from your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.